Hello and welcome back to 8-Bit Keys. In the last episode, I did a full review of the Yamaha Reface DX, and my first encounter with the Reface series was last year during my trip to Germany for the Thomann Synth Reactor event. I even did a small seat of the pants review of the CS while at their facility, and I nearly dropped the thing. Lots of people there really enjoyed playing with the Reface CS. So much like the Reface DX is a tiny modernized version of the Yamaha DX series keyboards, the Reface CS is a tiny modernized version of the Yamaha CS series keyboards. So let's go ahead and get this one unboxed. As expected, it's boxed pretty much identical to the Reface DX since it's the exact same shape and size. There we go, beautiful. The rear has all of the exact same ports as the Reface DX as well, so I'm not going to go over them again. One of the things I usually talk about when I review a keyboard is I'll mention how many different preset sounds or instruments that it has. Well, in the case of this keyboard, the answer actually could be 0, as there are no actual instrument preset buttons on here. However, the answer could also be infinite number of instruments, because you can just keep moving these sliders around to create a potentially infinite number of sounds. I've often said that this type of keyboard is the best for recreating early video game music from the 70s and early 80s. And if you set it to monophonic square wave and then eliminate all the effects and ADSR, what you end up with is a playable version of the PC speaker that came in every IBM clone and system from the 80s and 90s. And if you make it polyphonic and then mess around with the ADSR some, you can create music that sounds exactly like what you'd hear with the Tandy, Game Blaster, Sega Master System, or even the Nintendo. In fact, I caught Dom Sagalas playing the Tetris theme on it at the Thomann event. These are all square wave type systems though. The Reface CS actually has 5 types of waveform, and I'll let you hear what each one of them sounds like. You've already heard pulse. I called it square wave, but they're sort of the same thing. Actually, a square wave would look like this, where a pulse wave can have longer or shorter pulses. So I think it's safe to say that a square wave is a type of pulse wave, but not all pulse waves are square waves. The next waveform I'll show you is the sawtooth wave, which looks like this, and it's called a sawtooth because, well, it looks kind of like a saw blade. And of course, it sounds like this. The SID chip in the C64 is famous for its sawtooth wave, something many competing game systems and computer systems could not do back at that time. In fact, I can recreate the basic SID sounding sawtooth right here on the Reface CS. Just need a bit more of adjustment. There. Does that sound familiar? Just as a comparison, let's alternate between the actual game and my rendition on the Reface CS and see if you can even tell it apart. So you might be thinking, gee, did the Reface CS evolve from systems like the Commodore 64? Actually, no. The reason they sound so similar is that both the SID chip and the Yamaha CS series share a common ancestor, which goes all the way back to the 1960s. Robert Moog is considered to be the father of the electronic synthesizer, which debuted in 1965. And I think it's safe to say that the SID chip and the Reface both evolved from that, and that's why they sound so similar. Of course, the Reface is far more advanced than the SID chip, so I can come in here and start to modify this basic sawtooth wave into something far more interesting. Okay, let's have a listen to some of the other sounds that it can make. So this is the sawtooth. We've already done that one. And this is the pulse wave. We've already done that one too. This one is oscillator sync. Now, at first, it sounds very much like the sawtooth, but where it's different is when you start playing around with the texture and modulation. And here's ring modulation. Also quite a few weird sounds you can make with that. And the last waveform is frequency modulation. So yes, this is FM synthesis with only 2 operators. So you can create some sounds similar to the AdLib or some cheap Yamaha toy keyboards, but you'll never get Sega Genesis or DX7 type sounds out of it due to the lack of more operators. Let's see what other sorts of sounds I can get out of this thing. This sounds like something from Tron. Speaking of, you can get a lot of old-timey science fiction sounds out of this thing. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that despite using the same key mechanism as the Reface DX, this one has little to no velocity response. And to show you what I mean, I'm going to press this key as lightly as possible. And now I'll hit it much harder. As you can hear, there's virtually no difference. So you may remember from my trip to Thomann that me and some of the guys did a rendition of Axel F on those melodicas. In fact, here's some never-before-seen footage of us practicing together the night before in the hotel lobby.
There's no way I can play this with one hand. With 2 hands, that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I need to do that part like 10 times.
That's fine. Let's do it one more time.
So anyway, I thought we could come full circle here, and I wanted to see if I could play Axel F on this Yamaha Reface CS. So I began experimenting with the controls to see if I could match up some of the sounds. So I did manage to get a pretty convincing lead. Let's add some delay to that. Yeah, I think that'll work, and keep in mind there's no post-processing going on. This is straight from the keyboard. Okay, now to see if I can find the bass sound. I think that'll work. Also, keep in mind one problem with a keyboard like this is that there isn't really any easy way to save your sounds. I mean, you might be able to do it over MIDI, but I wasn't connected to anything, so all I could do was take photographs of the controls for each of the instruments I created and then try to recreate them later. And of course, there are no drums on this keyboard, so Anders Jensen and Espen Kraft worked together to create the drum track for me. And so let's put it all together and see what we have. So there we are. I should also mention I have some bad news. I uploaded a test copy of this video a few days ago before it was complete to YouTube, and YouTube actually did pick up the Axel F song. So the bad news is the song will be monetized, but I won't be the one receiving all the money. The money will be going to the people who own the copyright to the song. But because so much work was put into this video, I decided it was going to be way too much trouble to redo the whole Axel F thing and replace it with some of the songs. So I'm just going to go ahead and release it to you guys. I hope you enjoy it. As for the Reface CS, I think this is a really awesome keyboard. I'm glad I got the chance to review it. I think that you could actually make some pretty cool music in the genres of either, like pop or techno or synthwave with absolutely nothing but this keyboard and a drum machine. It's that powerful. And of course, there are certain sounds it's just simply never going to be able to make, such as the piano sound or some of the more complex FM sounds that like a DX7 can do. But it's still pretty darn cool and very powerful. And I'll probably be putting this up for sale on my website, just like I did with the Reface DX, because as cool as it is, I only bought it to review it, and I don't really have the room to store 40 billion keyboards in my home, so this one will have to be leaving as well. So, but that's it for now. So, as always, thanks for watching.